put your phone or device aside and immerse yourself in this audio story. Perfect for listening on the move, while relaxing, or for bedtime listening. We release new stories daily, so make sure to like and subscribe to not miss out. This story is based on true events. It began with a knock on a villa door in Bali, a knock that would expose one of the internet's most controversial business empires. A knock that sent shockwaves through an industry built on anonymity, streaming platforms, and a digital economy where visibility is currency and scandal is fuel. According to Indonesian authorities, when police entered that villa in December 2025, they believed they had uncovered evidence of content production that violated local morality laws that carry some of the strictest penalties in Southeast Asia. And standing at the center of the case was a woman who built a fortune on algorithmic attention, Bonnie Blue, born Tia Emma Billinger. But this was not just a police story. It was a business story. A dark business story about influence, monetization, and the unregulated shadow economy of creator platforms. The question investigators asked was simple, but the implications were enormous. How does someone rise from a small English town to earning six-figure monthly payouts online, only to become the subject of a global legal spectacle? And the deeper question, the one that haunts modern entrepreneurship. When your business model is built on controversy, where does the climb end? And when does the fall begin? Before the headlines, before the Bali arrest, before the explosive business growth, Tia Billinger lived a quiet, ordinary life in Stapleford, Nottinghamshire, England. Born in 1999, she grew up far from the online world that would one day turn her name into a brand. Public records, interviews, and local reports confirm that she held traditional jobs, including work in recruitment, long before fame. By her early 20s, however, she stepped into the expanding digital creator economy. The internet promised freedom, visibility, entrepreneurship, and above all, control over one's income. And she seized it. Within a few years, she reinvented herself under a new name, Bonnie Blue. This wasn't just a pseudonym. It became a corporation in itself. A growing digital empire powered by subscription platforms, algorithmic virality, and extreme audience engagement strategies. From 2020 onward, Bonnie Blue became one of the most widely discussed creators in the adult subscription economy. While avoiding explicit details, the financial model is publicly documented. She leveraged content paywalls, direct fan interaction, customized requests, and live stream monetization. Her earnings were not speculative. She publicly claimed in interviews to make up to £150,000 per month, sometimes more. Her statements were widely reported in British tabloids, entertainment outlets, and creator economy publications. And as her notoriety grew, so did her controversy. Her personality, confrontational, provocative, unapologetically bold, became a marketing engine. Her social media strategy didn't rely on industry norms. It relied on shock value, massive engagement spikes, and the kinds of viral clips that fuel modern creator businesses. Creators sell content, but Bonnie sold momentum, and momentum sells subscriptions. This created the perfect business thriller dynamic. A digital entrepreneur who discovers a loophole in the modern economy, where attention equals cash and outrage equals exponential growth. But as history shows in countless business scandal documentaries, from Wells Fargo fraud to FTX collapse, markets that reward extreme incentives often lead to extreme risks. And Bonnie's business was built on risk. In 2024, Bonnie Blue's online persona exploded into mainstream news in the UK. Her appearance on Good Morning Britain, where she defended her content creation career and spoke openly about her lifestyle, resulted in hundreds of viewer complaints. These complaints were filed with Ofcom, the UK's broadcasting regulator. This was the first major national spotlight, and it demonstrated something powerful about Bonnie's business model. Outrage creates revenue. Every controversy sent her subscription numbers higher. Every headline translated into increased engagement. Every debate about morality or free expression turned into growth for the brand. But this strategy came with a price. In the following months, Bonnie faced travel-related issues. Reports confirm that she was refused entry into Australia, and later Fiji, after authorities alleged she was attempting to conduct creator-related activities without appropriate permits. Her digital wealth didn't protect her from real-world regulations. Instead, it collided with them. This was the first time her entrepreneurial freedom faced direct governmental resistance, a pattern seen in countless real-life business scandals. From Elizabeth Holmes to Anna Delvey, the clash between ambition and regulation is a defining hallmark of the business thriller genre. And for Bonnie, that clash was about to escalate dramatically. In mid-2024, the centerpiece of Bonnie Blue's income, her primary subscription platform, removed a large portion of her content. According to public reports, the platform flagged it for violations related to dangerous challenges and inappropriate stunts. This wasn't merely a community guideline strike. It was a business earthquake. Because in the creator economy, losing your platform is the digital equivalent of losing your factory, your storefront, and your distribution network, all at once. Her revenue stream took a major hit. Her brand stability collapsed, and industry analysts began asking a chilling question. Had Bonnie Blue finally crossed a threshold even the subscription economy couldn't tolerate? This was an inflection point. The moment when her empire showed its first real crack. But for Bonnie, it wasn't the end. It was the setup for the most dramatic chapter of all. A chapter that would unfold thousands of miles from England. On an island where digital controversies become legal catastrophes, Bali. By late 2025, Bonnie Blue's business empire was no longer just a digital operation. It had become a traveling machine, a global brand built on meetups, collaborations, and cross-country ventures designed to boost visibility and rebuild revenue after the platform crackdown. But this new phase required something more dangerous than online engagement. It required mobility, and mobility meant navigating international laws, something many creators underestimate until the consequences arrive at their doorstep. According to travel logs and publicly documented social media posts, Bonnie arrived in Bali, Indonesia, in early December 2025. Indonesia is a nation with some of the strictest online morality and anti-pornography laws in the world, codified in national legislation and enforced by police and immigration authorities. For years, Indonesia had deported influencers for controversial content, provocative photos, or activities deemed culturally inappropriate. This was not unknown. It was widely reported, widely enforced, and widely understood in legal circles. But for Bonnie, Bali was not a risk. It was an opportunity. A place to rebuild her digital momentum with exotic backdrops, high-energy collaborations, and lifestyle-driven marketing that could restore subscriber growth. What she didn't know was that this trip would become the darkest chapter of her business story, a chapter that would dominate global headlines and trigger a full-scale investigation. The villa in Pererenan was modern, upscale, and typical of Bali's influencer economy, a place where creators gather for short-term content shoots and collaborative projects. But on December 7, 2025, everything changed. According to Indonesian police reports and multiple international news outlets, authorities received a tip-off alleging that creator-related activities were taking place in the villa in ways that could violate Indonesia's strict morality laws. Police moved in, multiple individuals were detained. Some were questioned for hours, among them Bonnie Blue. Authorities seized her passport, a move standard in Indonesian criminal investigations, especially when foreign nationals are involved. This alone was a major development. Because once your passport is confiscated in Indonesia, you cannot leave until the investigation concludes, whether that takes weeks, months, or longer. Public statements from police indicated they were examining whether any acts captured in the villa violated Indonesia's anti-pornography legislation. No charges were immediately filed, but the investigation itself was headline news across the UK, Australia, Europe, and Asia. This was no longer an online controversy. This was a legal crisis, a real-world business crime investigation involving a high-profile digital entrepreneur with an international audience. And globally, creators, influencers, and industry analysts began asking the same question. Had the borderless nature of the creator economy finally collided with the immovable force of national law? Within hours, the story went viral. British tabloids ran headlines questioning how a creator with such a controversial brand managed to travel internationally after prior visa bans. Australian news organisations focused on the involvement of 2 Australian tourists who had been detained during the same operation. Singaporean and Indonesian news outlets highlighted the strict legal landscape and the seriousness of the investigation. This wasn't just gossip. This became a geopolitical story about digital creators clashing with international law. Public interest skyrocketed for several reasons. Bonnie Blue was already a polarizing figure in the UK. She had previously drawn criticism for public comments on British television. Her social media presence had been restricted and partially removed by major platforms. She had been denied entry into multiple countries. Now, she was at the center of a police investigation in a country known for harsh penalties. The internet economy had finally hit a wall built of criminal codes, courtroom procedures, and national sovereignty. Experts interviewed across media platforms raised a chilling point. Most influencers underestimate the legal frameworks that exist outside their home country. And Bonnie Blue's case became the prime example. Then came the twist that turned this story into a full-fledged business thriller. According to news.com.au and further reporting by UK outlets, an alleged informant, described in interviews as someone who knew about Bonnie's activities, claimed to have tipped off the Indonesian authorities. The informant's reported statements suggested they believed Bonnie was attempting to organize paid content shoots without proper permissions. If true, the implications were enormous. A business competitor, associate, or bystander may have intentionally triggered the legal downfall of a digital entrepreneur. This added a layer of corporate scandal energy to the story, the type of betrayal seen in documentaries about the Enron scandal, Wirecard collapse, and other secretive corporate implosions. Because behind every powerful online figure is a fragile infrastructure, collaborators, rivals, disgruntled insiders, people who know enough to destroy the business. For Bonnie Blue, the alleged informant became a symbol of the darker truth about modern entrepreneurship. Your audience may love you, your subscribers may fund you, but the real threat often comes from the people inside your own ecosystem. That was the twist nobody expected. Not the raid, not the investigation, but the possibility that someone in her orbit helped trigger it. And that transformed Bonnie's story from a viral headline into a full-scale business scandal documentary where power struggles, money, influence, and hidden motives collide. Indonesian authorities confirmed that Bonnie Blue was being investigated under strict anti-pornography laws, which can carry significant penalties. Her passport remained confiscated as part of the ongoing investigation. Experts in Indonesian law interviewed by major newspapers explained that such investigations can lead to detention, formal charges, deportation, or full bans from re-entering Indonesia. The consequences were not theoretical. Dozens of creators have been deported from Indonesia for far less. Bonnie Blue now faced a financial mystery far more dangerous than the loss of a platform, the possible destruction of her international business mobility. A creator's freedom to travel is their gateway to content, collaborations, and income growth. And when that mobility is gone, the business collapses. This is the dark side of digital entrepreneurship that few talk about. The legal vulnerabilities, the moral codes of foreign nations, and the irreversible consequences of crossing regulatory lines. And Bonnie was living it in real time. As news of Bonnie Blue's detention spread across social media, the world reacted with a mix of shock, fascination, and harsh moral judgment. Some viewed her as a provocateur finally facing consequences. Others saw the story as a sharp warning about the unpredictable risks of the creator economy. But for those studying the business of influence, it revealed something deeper, something that echoed through every dark business story and every business scandal documentary ever produced. Power built on attention is the most fragile power of all. Immediately after the raid, Bonnie's online presence became volatile. Fans demanded updates. Critics flooded hashtags. News outlets pushed each new detail into the global spotlight. But behind the noise, a quieter and more dangerous process began. Brand sponsors distanced themselves. Collaborators paused discussions. Content platforms monitored the situation carefully. This is a well-documented pattern in business scandals involving public figures. When controversy becomes legal exposure, companies shift into risk avoidance mode. Even individuals with massive online followings, from Logan Paul's Japan incident to Andrew Tate's Romanian accusations, saw immediate financial consequences. Bonnie was no different. Her revenue depended on visibility, collaboration, and the constant maintenance of online identity. The Bali arrest placed all three at risk. In the modern digital economy, creators are essentially one-person corporations. And when the CEO is detained, the corporation freezes. While no exact figures were released, analysts in creator economy publications speculated on the financial impact. A creator earning high monthly payouts relies on consistent posting, regular fan engagement, collaborative boosts, algorithmic presence. A legal investigation disrupts all of these. In other major cases, from Twitch bans to YouTube demonetization, creators can lose 40% to 90% of their income in a matter of weeks. Bonnie's situation was uniquely severe. She was not just demonetized, she was immobilized. Her brand momentum stalled. Her global reach shrank. Her ability to generate new content, the lifeblood of her business model, was trapped behind an international border and a confiscated passport. If influence is a currency, Bonnie's account had been frozen. Experts in digital behavior noted a recurring phenomenon. Creators who achieve rapid fame often take escalating risks to maintain growth. It is not unique to Bonnie Blue. It mirrors the psychology seen in stock market manipulation cases. High-profile fraudsters like Sam Bankman, fried controversial CEOs such as Travis Kalanick during Uber's scandals, failed tech empires like WeWork. The cycle is always similar. Initial success, public attention, escalation of behavior to stay relevant, regulatory backlash, collapse or reinvention. Bonnie's business story fit this blueprint uncannily well. From recruitment worker, to internet personality, to six-figure earner, to mainstream controversy, to international legal investigation, ambition and monetization had driven her ascent. Visibility had fueled it, and now visibility was the very force crushing it. While the legal case unfolded, the court of public opinion delivered its own verdict. Loudly, relentlessly, and without mercy. Supporters argued that Bonnie's arrest showed the risks creators face when traveling to countries with strict content laws. Critics claimed she should have known the rules and questioned her decision-making. But the most interesting reaction came from creator economy analysts. They pointed out that Bonnie's downfall illustrated a core truth about wealth and power. The platforms that make creators rich can also destroy them instantly. The business was never fully hers. It belonged to algorithms, moderators, national governments, immigration policies, and the unpredictable behavior of the global audience. Creators often speak about independence. But Bonnie's case showed the opposite. Creators are dependent on systems they cannot control. And when those systems turn against them, whether through demonetization, bans, misinformation, or police investigations, the fall is immediate and devastating. The alleged informant became one of the most discussed elements of the entire scandal. News.com.au published statements from someone claiming to have alerted authorities because they believed Bonnie was acting without proper authorization. If the reports were accurate, the consequences for Bonnie's business were severe. Her own network, the people who knew her routines, her travel plans, and her collaboration structure, contained a vulnerability, a breach in trust, a leak in the system, a catalyst for a corporate-level crisis. This mirrors patterns seen in major business scandals, whistleblowers at Wells Fargo, insiders exposing Wirecard, employees leaking information on Facebook's algorithm. In each case, the downfall came not from outside competitors, but from internal sources. Bonnie's empire had the same weakness. Her downfall wasn't just caused by legal codes. It may have been accelerated by someone who knew how her business worked. This is the kind of twist that turns a real-life story into a business thriller. A betrayal, a leak, a collapse, all factual, all documented, all part of the fragile ecosystem of online influence. The deeper lesson of Bonnie Blue's story reached far beyond headlines. It exposed the instability of modern online entrepreneurship. Influence can generate enormous wealth, sometimes faster than any traditional business. But that wealth comes with hidden risks, geopolitical laws, platform enforcement, cultural boundaries, public judgment, internal betrayals. Creators rarely think of themselves as international businesses, but they are. And international businesses cannot outrun international laws. Bonnie Blue's rise was fast, profitable, and fueled by controversy. Her fall was sudden, disruptive, and rooted in the same forces that made her famous. That is the paradox at the core of every rise and fall story. The traits that create success often become the seeds of collapse. As the Bali investigation entered its next phase, Bonnie Blue's future remained suspended between two worlds: the digital empire she had built and the legal system now holding her in place. Her passport stayed in police custody. Her villa was monitored. Her online following waited for answers that nobody, not even her legal team, could fully predict. For the first time since the beginning of her rise, the algorithm was no longer in control. The courts were. This moment, this pause between accusation and outcome, is where many real-life business stories reveal their darkest truths, because what destroys a business empire is rarely the scandal itself. It is the uncertainty. Investors leave, partners step back, fans drift away, and the empire that once felt unstoppable becomes a fragile structure built entirely on public attention and collapsing without it. While the investigation unfolded, Bonnie's income streams became unpredictable. Subscription platforms rely on constant output, constant engagement, constant presence. But Bali's authorities made one thing clear. She was not allowed to leave. This immobilized her business model. Reports from similar creator cases in Southeast Asia show that even a few weeks of travel restriction can lead to severe financial damage, not because earnings disappear, but because momentum does. The digital marketplace respects only one rule: post or perish. Without the ability to move freely, collaborate, or record major new content, Bonnie's business experienced the same symptoms as any corporation facing a sudden regulatory freeze: revenue instability, partner hesitation, increased operational costs, damaged long-term forecasting. Bonnie Blue was still famous, but fame without freedom is not a business. It is a liability. As interviews with legal experts circulated through UK and Australian media, analysts emphasized the severity of Indonesia's anti-pornography laws. Penalties, they explained, can include deportation, blacklisting, or imprisonment, depending on the final findings. Even without charges, the investigation alone was enough to jeopardize an entire digital empire. Creators live in a psychological loop of constant production. Interrupt that loop, and the brand begins to unravel. Business strategists often warn entrepreneurs about single-point vulnerability. For traditional companies, this might be a supply chain failure, a software breach, or a critical executive leaving. For digital creators, the single point of vulnerability is mobility. Lose that, and the business suffocates. Bonnie Blue's detention revealed that vulnerability on a global stage. It showed that success built on personal identity is always one legal decision away from collapse. Across social media, podcasts, and newsrooms, analysts began using Bonnie's case to discuss broader issues affecting modern entrepreneurship. The illusion of borderless income. Creators often assume the internet frees them from regional laws, but governments have proven repeatedly that digital income does not equal diplomatic immunity. The volatility of fame-based business models. Linking revenue to personal controversy can generate wealth until the backlash becomes unmanageable. The underestimated power of informants. Modern scandals frequently unfold because of insiders who choose to speak. In Bonnie's case, the alleged tip-off became the turning point of the investigation. The fragility of digital monopolies. A creator may appear independent, but they rely on platforms, governments, audiences, payment processors, travel permissions. When one fails, the whole business fractures. These lessons echoed far beyond Bonnie's community. They reached entrepreneurs, CEOs, investors, and anyone studying the psychology of digital wealth. Because no matter the industry, from the FTX collapse to the Wells Fargo scandal, the same rules apply. Ambition expands faster than the systems designed to control it. By mid-December 2025, Bonnie remained in Bali under investigation. No final verdict had been released. Her passport stayed with police. Her future, both legally and financially, remained uncertain. And that uncertainty became the final chapter of this business scandal documentary. Because the truth is this: not every business thriller ends with a conviction. Some end with a question. A question that hangs in the air like a sealed corporate file waiting to be opened. What happens when a creator builds a fortune on digital influence, but discovers that the real world still has borders? What happens when a business model thrives on shock, until the shock becomes a criminal investigation? And most importantly, what happens to a digital empire when the person at the center is suddenly unable to move? For Bonnie Blue, the rise was fast. The fall was global. And the lesson is unmistakable. In the modern creator economy, freedom is the ultimate currency. And once it's gone, everything else collapses. It all began with a knock on a villa door in Bali. A knock that exposed a business built on momentum, audience psychology, borderless income, and digital controversy. A knock that proved something powerful, dangerous, and real. The larger the empire built on attention, the louder the world becomes when it begins to fall. And tonight, the world watched. The internet reacted. Governments intervened. A creator empire hung in balance. This is not fiction. This is not theory. This is the dark business story of Bonnie Blue. A real-life business thriller. A cautionary tale of money and greed. A financial mystery still unfolding. And somewhere in Bali, the investigation continues. Subscribe and listen to our next story below.